Hey, what's up guys? Alex here with a new video, and today we're going to be talking about the Leica SL2. So I picked this up this past Friday. I was actually on a waiting list for this camera. I think I put myself on the list about 2.5 months ago and it finally came in. What's really cool about all Leica cameras is they're all hand built in Germany. So when they're on back order, so they're not mass produced, so they do take their time, and it's finally here. So I'm super excited to make this video. I've had it for a handful of days, so this is a first impressions video. There's no way I could do a review this quick, so be on the lookout for that in the next few months. But for now, just my first impressions. Where do I start? Let's go over the specs a little bit. I won't go in too deep just because of the fact that I don't like doing that in my videos. And just like all my other videos, I will also be posting pictures that I took with this camera this past weekend throughout the video, so you guys can see the image quality and everything I'm talking about. But as far as specs goes, this camera is spec to the max because it's priced to the max. So it retails for $59.95, which is pretty much competing with the 1DX Mark III, the Nikon D6, and all high-end cameras out there. But like I said, the specs do kind of match the price. 47 megapixels, internal body image stabilization, dual SD card slot, class leading 5.7 megapixel EVF, which is absolutely stunning. It has IP54 weather resistance, so you can get this camera soaked and you will be fine. 20 frames per second. And then of course for video, 4K 60, 5K 24, and 5K 30, I believe. Does 120, 1080, like it has pretty much everything you'd expect it to have at this price point. Does not shoot raw video, at least not yet. Wouldn't be surprised if an update enables that down the road. But overall, this camera, like I said, spec to the T. It's one area where like it's kind of odd that they went with this choice is it's autofocusing. So most newer cameras use a mixture of phase detect and contrast detect autofocusing points. This camera only uses contrast detect autofocusing points. The good thing is those points are usually more accurate. The bad thing is they're usually a little slower. Now, in my time using the camera, I did not see any issues. As a matter of fact, I think the only complaint I have right now is just its implementation of face detect autofocusing. So most cameras now have face and eye detect in their autofocusing systems. This camera only has face detect, but it actually has face and body, which is cool, right, in theory. But when you're taking pictures, sometimes you get two boxes. You get one around the face and one around the body. And I just don't know what the hell the camera is doing. So I found myself switching to single point autofocusing and using the joystick, or at least to be sure that I was getting the focusing point I wanted, because the face and body implementation was a little odd. But hopefully that can be fixed with a firmware update. Hopefully they add eye detect in the firmware update, because that would put this camera kind of up with all the other cameras in its class. But for now, I think this biggest weakness is just its implementation of the UI with the autofocusing, not necessarily the focusing itself, because the images I got were extremely sharp. Now, again, this is a first impressions. I've used this camera for give or take a week. So there's a lot of quirks I haven't figured out. There's also a lot of quirks that are my problem, right? So I'm so used to using a Canon EOS R. I know like the back of my hand, and using a brand new camera does take some adjustment. But overall, I'm really impressed with this camera. So I wanted to primarily cover two things. I wanted to cover build quality and I wanted to cover image quality, because those are just flat out amazing. I will start off with build quality. So like I touched on earlier, this body is handmade in Germany out of one solid piece of aluminum. The only plastic you have is here on the side where you have the ports, but overall it's just a brick. The grip itself is amazing. I have fairly large hands. I'm 6'4", so I'm a tall guy, and look at that grip. It is amazing. With mirrorless cameras, my biggest issue is that my pinky always hangs, right? So like with the EOS R, I have a battery grip. Usually try to make the camera bigger. This camera does not need a battery grip. This camera just fits like a glove. Because of that, this camera is not small. This is the biggest mirrorless camera You know what? Second biggest mirrorless camera next to the Panasonic S1R, which actually shares the same sensor, but is a little bulkier. But overall, like, this camera just feels great. Like, just want to hold it. And it's EVF. Wow. 5.7 megapixels. And it has a Leica glass, or has a specific glass on the EVF to, again, make it even clearer. The best EVF I've used, hands down. So in the little that I've used this camera, like, I'm really happy with the ergonomics, the button placement, and the feel of it. It's just a good feeling camera. It balances well. Really excited to put it through tougher tests. This weekend was actually a really good example. We were shooting in 100-degree weather. I genuinely thought my cameras were going to overheat because the sun was hitting me directly as I was kind of like backlighting my couple. And both my SL2 and my EOS R took it like a champ, did not overheat. They got super hot, did not overheat, and it was good to see that. So this is rocking a 47 megapixel sensor, and it is stunning. You can see every single detail. It is incredible. Probably not so much for skin retouching, because you're gonna see every single flaw in the world, but just wow. Dynamic range is also great, right up there with like Sony and Nikon. Like, you can pull the shadows up and maintain tons of detail. What really impressed me the most was the color science and its highlight roll-off. So we'll start off with the color science. I said this in my Leica Q2 review, but the color science that Leica uses and has is the best color science I've seen on any camera. And you know what? I'm not going to argue. I'm going to put up two pictures here. I'm going to put up a Canon RAW file, and I'm going to put up a Leica RAW file. These are untouched. So let's go ahead and go back to the Canon RAW file. My wife's skin, her lips, they look dead, right? And a RAW file is supposed to be a flat file, so okay, I get it. But the Leica RAW file just starts off with such a good base. Look at the colors, look at her lips. The difference is insane. And again, this is just untouched, unedited, straight out of camera, raw. And I love it. Like, the files are so easy to edit. I don't have to tweak them. Everything just falls into place. The auto white balance in this camera is pretty incredible too. It pretty much nails it most of the time, which is pretty impressive, specifically in like challenging situations. Like, we were in fields with lots of green, right? And usually cameras either tend to go too much on the magenta side or too much on the green side. I always tweak it in post anyways, but it's nice to see kind of a straight out of camera raw and just being kind of blown away without having to tweak it. The highlight roll off was really impressive. So I shot a video this weekend comparing this camera and my EOS R. That's gonna be uploaded later. I gotta do some more testing, so everything I say is somewhat accurate. But I'll show you these two pictures as well. In the same spot, same settings, you see how the highlights roll off my wife's skin so much smoother with the Leica file, and with the Canon file, it's just kind of bam, hitting you, right? It's harsh. So probably not a fair comparison, right? We are comparing a brand new 47 megapixel sensor with the latest technology with Canon's. It's a 5D Mark IV sensor, right? Which is close to 5 years old now. So of course the Leica is going to perform better, but overall, really impressed with the SL2. The image quality is stunning. The ergonomics and build quality is great. And overall, for my first impressions, I'm really happy. So the next thing is going to be really kind of finding which lenses I get, right? So this camera is not cheap, and the lenses aren't cheap. So all the pictures you've seen, I shot with the Leica 50mm f2 Apo. Leica has said that this new line of SL primes are the best lenses they have ever made. Think about that. That's insane. So I'm kind of renting these lenses out, testing them out to see exactly which ones I'll pick up. If I get a chance to pick them up, because right now they're all sold out. But this weekend I tested the 50 f2 because it is my favorite focal length so far, and I will post a video about my experience with that lens later this week. But overall, pretty impressed. So if you want to see more Leica content, I will be posting a lot more Leica videos along with my Canon videos in this channel. So if you're interested, please like, please subscribe, and as always, I will see you on the next one. Have a good one. Peace.